What's going on, everybody? Today we've got a fun little exercise planned whereby I'm going to try and fix the Edison Format Banlist. Now, before we get into that, there's two major points that I need to acknowledge that are important for this video. Firstly, I don't actually support custom formats or custom ban lists or anything like that. I don't think they're really practical to implement. I don't think it's ever really going to happen. So I plan to keep playing just plain old Edison format, and I don't think that's ever going to change anytime soon within the community. This is just a fun video. Second thing, obviously a format like Edison is very delicately balanced and subtle and nuanced, and pretty much any hit on the ban list or any change really could affect the format in completely chaotic and unpredictable ways. So I'm not claiming that these changes would improve the format or even that they would make the format worse. I just have no goddamn clue what they would do. If there's any takeaway that we should have, it's that making changes to the ban list, you can't really know what would happen. I mean, it's just so difficult. There's so many variables and factors that you just don't really know. So I'm just trying to evaluate which cards I think are degenerate and should be banned on the Edison format ban list, and which cards I think should be unhit. Just for my sort of looking at the ban list and thinking about it in that context. So without further ado, let's jump in and just look at the cards. So most of the cards I have here on the banned list should be pretty uncontroversial. Starting with Brain Control. This is obviously just a dumb, sacky card. I mean, like I mentioned before, I think I've talked about this card before, but just any kind of change of heart, like yoink a monster card, just can't really be fair at this point in Yu-Gi-Oh history. So I think Brain Control has really got to go. It's like completely impossible to play around. It's just super annoying. So I don't think too many people would object to that card being banned. Next up, we've got the two turn one auto win buttons, which are Trap, Dust Shoot, and Future Fusion. Future Fusion, even not in Dragons, this can be a turn one auto win button if you send a Mally and make Stardust or something and have an Ab Zero coming down, and that's pretty much game set match there too. I think these are probably the two biggest consensus cards on this whole list of cards that should be banned. I don't think too many people would disagree with those, and obviously Trap Dust Shoot's just one of the most toxic cards, if not the most toxic cards from this time period. So it's got to go to. Results in so many just non-games because, hey, I opened Dust Shoot, lol. So yeah, those two got to go. Substitute. Now, I acknowledge that banning this would essentially destroy Frogs as a tier 1 deck, but frankly, Substitute, degenerate card, poorly designed, ticking time bomb, just waiting for something to break it, and eventually does get broken. And there is the weird combo OTK thing in this format that's definitely viable. So I think I have no qualms about hitting Substitute, even if it does mean Frogs are gone. And I don't really mind Frogs, but collateral damage or whatever. Finally, Royal Oppression. Now, this is definitely the card that I hear the most complaints about, to be honest. And there's a lot of people out there who probably think that this card gatekeeps dumb combo high roll stuff. And I basically view that point of view as copium. I think this card is just a silly floodgate that can't really exist at this point in Yu-Gi-Oh! I think that logic is basically the same logic used to defend Max C in Modern or something. It's just not even really true. It's just another toxic card that makes the format worse. So frankly, the reason that high roll combo stuff isn't played in Edison is not because Royal Oppression gatekeeps it. Most people don't even main deck this card anymore. It's the reason that stuff's not good is just because the format's so inconsistent, and there's not enough consistency in terms of draw power or whatever to make stuff like that really happen. So I think Oppression just has to go. I mean, everyone hates this card. Everyone hates this. It's the number one reason people don't like Edison format, I think, is because they just get this card flipped into them and then they feel like they can't play the game. And I totally understand that. Even if it doesn't actually win all that many games, it's just the fact that it's out there is pretty silly. So final two, we have Cold Wave and Giant Trunade. These are just the toxic forms of spell trap removal that are only used for dumb stuff. So I think a lot of these cards that I banned, I kind of tried to offset with more healthy cards later down on the list, which is kind of what Konami ended up doing in the long run. So we're going to sort of see the other half of that later on, but I think Cold Wave and Trunade are just only for dumb stuff, and no one really likes them, so they should probably go. Finally, we have cards going to 1. Start off, Dark Hole kind of offsets Brain Control in terms of being able to play into boards. I think Dark Hole is a completely fair, completely healthy card. It's super easy to play around. It's just another power card like Storm, as I've mentioned before. And like, yeah, just you're not getting sacked by Dark Hole unless you just play into it like an idiot. I mean, that's just the fact. Like, you can always just make Stardust. You can always just, commit floaters to the board or whatever, or just don't commit to the board like too much if you can't kill your opponent or whatever. So, I mean, it's super easy to play around. It's way healthier than Brain Control, so I think it's a perfectly reasonable replacement as like the power spell for outing established boards. Black Whirlwind, this is like the only toxic thing about Blackwings, really. So I think putting it to 1 is like a reasonable hit, honestly. Especially since I banned Oppression already, if you think about it. This is probably just... Blackwings get super neutered by this list, but I think it's still fair because Whirlwind is just so insane. And like I said, people aren't even really maining Oppression right now. So Whirlwind's kind of like a boneless Dust Shoot / Future Fusion because it's like the turn 1 auto win sort of card, but it's only in one specific deck, so it's not as objectionable. Plus, there's the very vague chance right now that they could open double Whirlwind, which is just really dumb. So I think ultimately in retro formats, just nerfing the consistency of archetype cards like this is perfectly acceptable as a way of hitting them. Obviously, in modern, that's kind of a different banlist philosophy, but I think 1 Whirlwind is fine. Honest, this is by far the craziest, like, damage step question mark card in the entire format. By far, this is, I mean, it's just so hard to play around. The fact that they have 2 of them in Lightsworn or Fairy, so it's like even when you look and see there's 1 Honest gone, you can still just, like, get sacked by them having just hard drawn the second Honest, and it's super obnoxious. It's super annoying. It can steal games for no reason. So it's just crazy powerful, I think, and 2 is too many for sure. So I'm putting it to 1. I think 1 is reasonable. It's definitely a big hit to Fairy and Lightsworn, but I think it's a legitimate hit because Honest is just that nuts. Finally, we have Tsukiyomi. I think this is the first unban. No, wait, Darkhole's an unban as well. I really can't think of a good reason why Tsukiyomi needs to be banned in Edison format. I can't think of a good reason why Tsukiyomi ever needed to be banned ever, so... yeah, I don't know, this card was just like played at 1 in every deck for so long, and it was like the last remaining straggler that Konami didn't ban from GOAT format, so they just decided to ban it for some reason. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I think it would be completely fair. Maybe some like flip decks would be better or something, but who really cares? I mean, yeah, I'm cool with bringing it back. Whatever, it's fine. Finally, semi-limited list. Oh wait, this is not the last slide, but whatever. We're going to go over it. I put MST to 2. I considered putting this to 3. I think maybe it would be a little bit safer to just go to 2 for now. People don't even main 3 of this, to be honest, when it's at 3. But yeah, it's just a far healthier form of spell trap removal than Cold Wave and Trunade. It would be played in the main deck in a lot more decks, so it's going to make Floodgates like Skill Drain worse too as well, which I think is good for the format as well. So MST is just a healthy card, and I would like having 1 more of it. ARA, Ritual decks just feel so trash in Edison format. There's like no possible way in my mind that putting ARA to 2 would like break anything really. It might make them playable, but I don't think it's making anything tier 1, to be honest. So that's where I'm at on that card. I think it would be neat to see some Ritual decks see play. So putting ARA to 2, Snipe Hunter to 2. This card sucks and no one plays it in anything. I'm out of an abundance of caution. I say maybe 2. We'll put it to 2 for now. Because maybe there's some weird deck that plays it that's somehow good. I don't know, but I kind of doubt. I kind of doubt, to be honest. I feel like people just wouldn't play it anyway. But bumping it up to 2 seems reasonable for now. Finally, Chaos Sorcerer. There just really aren't Chaos decks played in this format, specifically because this card is only at 1. If this card was at 2, I think we could see some Chaos decks. Maybe they would be too good. Maybe it'd be too crazy. But there were a lot of other hits to like Twilight sort of stuff as well. I think without the crazy mill power of like Charge of the Light Brigade or whatever at 3 from the previous format, I don't think this card would be too overpowered. I mean, it's just a fair boss monster by this point. And maybe it'll result in decks that are crazy. I don't, like I said, you can't really predict anything, but I'd like to try out 2 Sork and just see what happens, you know? I think it would be reasonable. All right, finally, the unlimited section. This is cards that are on the list that just shouldn't be on the list. starting with Exodia pieces. Now, a lot of you might not know this, but there's actually just not a conceivable reason why these cards should be limited. I don't really know why they're limited. I think it might just be some weird, like, lore thing, or I don't really know, but as far as I can tell, it is optimal to play one of these in every Exodia deck ever, and just, like, not play second or third copies, because you're just going to brick on redundant Exodia copies. It doesn't really improve the deck whatsoever to play additional copies of the pieces. So, yeah, it's like kind of a completely pointless thing cluttering the ban list, so whatever. Treeborn. I mean, I took away Substitute, so what is even... I can't even think of why Treeborn needed to be semied in the first place. There's not really any actual additive benefit of playing more, other than you could say, like, they can't crow all your Treeborn frogs. Like, there's no point in even trying to crow all the Treeborn frogs at that point, I guess. But especially without Substitute, I mean, because then they can't even go through their whole deck, like, all at once. They're just relying on swap. So I don't even know if people would play 3 of this, to be honest. They might just still play 2. Maybe side the 3rd or something. I don't think it'd have too much effect at all to unlimit Treeborn Frog. Finally, Transmigration Prophecy. I don't know why this thing's limited. It's worse than Soul Release. It's worse than DD Crow. It's worse than Kaiku. I mean, people just play other forms of Graveyard Disruption. So yeah, Victory Dragon. People are gonna disagree with this one because of, like, the sportsmanship thing or whatever. But my interpretation of this card is the rules of the game say you can scoop whenever you want, so it's effectively useless and therefore shouldn't be on the ban list. Therefore, it should be a 3. So, yeah, I mean, Victory Dragon's just a garbage card, and if you turn up with Victory Dragon in a deck at an event, you deserve to have people just scoop before they get hit with Victory Dragon. So, I don't know what to say to you. United We Stand. This is kind of like Transmigration Prophecy. I'm sort of just perplexed as to why it's on the list at all. I think it's, like, semi'd, and no one plays it, so, I mean, yeah, whatever. It can go to 3, right? Anyway, if you would like to flame me for my terrible decisions, be sure to do so in the comments. Like I've said before, it helps out in the algorithm. Be sure to drop a like as well, subscribe to the channel, click the alert bell, share the video, do all of that stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.